Coming up on the Angus Report, from fall lows to spring highs, CattleFax Senior Analyst Kevin Good explains recent cattle market trends.
A report from the Beef Improvement Federation's annual convention.
The latest on beef exports from the U.S. Meat Export Federation.
A Minnesota Angus operation employs a feeder calf buyback program to add value to their customers' calves. And we preview the 2017 National Junior Angus Show in Des Moines, Iowa.
This is the Angus Report. Hello and welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Jenna McCrell.
Our top news this week. The cattle market has experienced much change over the last 12 months, reaching near record lows last fall, followed by a big upward swing this spring. CattleFax Senior Analyst Kevin Good says a move of this magnitude has happened only twice in industry history, where the fall lows transitioned into spring highs. During this time, he says calf values increased almost 45%, and with herd expansion expected this year and next, the nation's beef supply will continue to grow. And Good says global exports play a significant role in supporting the stronger cattle market.
The market coming off the cycle high of 2014, it just had to go more than likely cheaper than it needed to find some support, and it did that last October. As we look about the turnaround in events since then, from then to now, one of the big driving factors is exports. Exports have outperformed estimates for beef, pork, and poultry, and imports have remained well below a year ago levels as well. In addition to that, the feeding industries became very current. The drop in carcass weight since the first of the year is the second biggest in history. And of course, as you drop those carcass weights, that improves the currentness and the leverage that the cattle feeder has over the packing segment. And therefore, we are receiving a bigger piece of that retail pie today than we were a year ago. And those margins a year ago were very, very thin as we think about the production side.
The Beef Improvement Federation, or BIF, has been at the leading edge of beef cattle genetics, performance data, and innovative science for nearly 50 years. The organization recently hosted its annual convention and research symposium in Athens, Georgia, where the industry's leading academic and industry professionals gathered to explore opportunities and challenges facing beef cattle production. Dan Mosier, president of Angus Genetics Incorporated, shares a report from this year's BIF convention.
BIF is one of my favorite meetings of the year because it really is a nice mixture of commercial producers, seed stock producers of many breeds, breed association personnel, university teachers, researchers, extension personnel. It's a really neat opportunity to share ideas and learn what other organizations are doing. A lot of the research that's presented at BIF is very close to what I would call prime time, ready to be used. A lot of the research is going to directly impact selection, whether we talk about the next version of genomic testing, some of the new traits that are being investigated, the opportunity to, again, better quantify economic selection indexes, to make those more powerful. Those are all things that are directly going to impact Angus breeders and their commercial customers.
Visit bifconference.com for comprehensive coverage, including articles and audio recordings from the Angus media team.
According to a recent report for the U.S. Meat Export Federation, April proved to be a solid month for exporting U.S. red meat, with levels higher than they were a year ago. Compared to last year, January through April beef exports were up 14% in volume and 18% in value. The April export value per head of fed slaughter averaged more than $280, up 12% from a year ago, and the highest of 2017. Japan was the leading market for U.S. beef exports in April, where trade exceeded last year's pace by a third. The growing overseas demand is good news for cattle producers. However, U.S. MEF says the industry remains in a competitive world situation and must stay aggressive in its marketing efforts. Visit usmef.org to learn more.
The 2017 World Livestock Auctioneer Championship wrapped up last week at the public auction yards in Billings, Montana. The 54th annual WLAC took place in conjunction with the Livestock Marketing Association's annual convention. About 30 semifinalist auctioneers competed in live interview and auctioneering contests for the title of the World Livestock Auctioneer Champion. Each semifinalist was asked to display their knowledge of the livestock marketing business through a live interview competition, as well as display auctioneering skills during a live sale. Tune in to RFD-TV for LMA's special one-hour show starting at 7 p.m. Central Time on Monday, June 26th to see who was named the reigning champion.
Elk herds found in Yellowstone National Park and surrounding areas have been confirmed as key transmitters of brucellosis to cattle and bison. That's according to a recent analysis from the National Academies of Sciences. The report says there's a low likelihood that brucellosis, which can cause females to abort their calves, would be transmitted from bison or elk to cattle, but the true prevalence in bison and elk is unknown. More research is needed to understand the risk and long-term solutions. In the past, bison management has been an important component in brucellosis control strategy, but the new report emphasizes controlling measures involving elk migratory patterns and their interaction with livestock herds. The report also suggests cattle producers continue to vaccinate against brucellosis in high-risk areas of Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming.
Engaging with the public about agriculture production and sharing your personal experience on the farm or ranch could help support the future of agriculture for generations to come. Whether at the local grocery store or community events, positive conversations about how cattle are raised and quality beef production can make all the difference for consumers questioning their food choices. Iowa Angus breeder Annette Sweeney shares this advice for her fellow cattle producers.
When we have people come to our place, look at our heifers, look at the cows, look at our bulls that we have, it gives us an opportunity and a platform to say, what do you hear when you are even at the grocery store or when you're at a 4-H meeting? And then that also opens a door to be able to say, hey, you know what, when you're there, why don't you share some of the real good information that you have about the quality beef that you raise, that you're very excited to be able to sell to the grocery stores and also to families. And so when you have an opportunity, seize it to be able to tell what a great job you do as a producer and how healthy your product is.
When we return, reinvesting in their customers' calves is a top priority for Schiefelbein Farms in Minnesota.
Then we're just weeks away from the National Junior Angus Show in Des Moines, Iowa. We'll preview what's in store.
Visit Angus.media to continue watching this episode of the Angus Report.
Forward. It's more than a direction. It's mandatory, because the beef business rewards the progressive, the doers, the ones who know what it takes to go easy on cattle and never set them back. So set your eyes on the horizon, turn your back to the wind, and move your herd the only way you know. Forward. Vista Vaccines. Always ahead.
Did you know that your checkoff works to grow demand for U.S. beef in more than 80 countries? Did you know export markets add more than $250 in value to each head? Did you know your checkoff works to develop, defend, and dispel in an effort to expand international markets? While you're focused on managing your beef business, your checkoff is developing new foreign markets and defending those where U.S. beef is currently sold. Get to know your checkoff at mybeefcheckoff.com.
Hi, I'm Red Stegall. I'd like to invite you to the 2017 Angus Convention, November 4th through the 6th, right here in historic Fort Worth. It's also open to all cattle producers, whether you own Angus cattle or not. Now you'll enjoy 4 days of Texas hospitality, a ranch tour, an industry-leading trade show, and some of the best educational opportunities in the business. But best of all, you'll get to be with your Angus family, celebrating the successes of the breed and charting a course for the future.
Today's beef consumer has questions. BQA has the answers. Your Beef Quality Assurance certification allows you to share a story that assures customers that you are responsibly raising a safe, wholesome, and healthy beef supply. Becoming BQA certified just became even more convenient with a new interactive training experience that is online and available 24/7. So what are you waiting for? Get started today by visiting bqa.org.
To me, it's always been relaxing to be in with a bunch of cows. I love my cows very much. Our ranch is located southwest of Muleshoe, Texas. We have about 350 head of mama cows. I'm not a geneticist, and so it's nice to have somebody who's dedicated to that to help me choose better cattle to keep. We started using GeneMax for the first time last year. I think it was in February that we drew blood and we sent it in on 300 head of cattle.
GeneMax is helping us pair our 50 replacement heifers with the right sires, and we're just getting a huge improvement on each cow, and our herd is growing. 80% of our decision is based off of GeneMax's reports. It's just a huge tool to have, and it's worth the money invested in it.
GeneMax is incredible that way. It's amazing what you can find out and what they're continually improving.